I'd come back from India as a hippie in the early 70s, actually 69, about 1970. And funnily enough, I was attempting to write a book then based on the experiences I'd had with the hallucinogenic drugs in India. It was called Ahead of His Time, Self-Realized States Through the Use of Lysergic Acid in India. So at that time, the devotees had just had a big hit in the charts with the record of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And so I thought what a great idea it would be to have a chapter featuring an interview with the devotees to get their angle on the absolute truth, as it were. So when I finally find out the location of the temple, I went along there and I met Kulushekhar Prabhu, who was an early disciple. And I made known my intentions, and he said, well, our spiritual master is upstairs. Why don't you talk to him? I said, great, why not? So then we went upstairs. Prabhupada's room was on the first floor in Bray Place. And so before we just entered the room, he said to me, because he told me Prabhupada, he's a great personality and we offer respects and what have you, so if you do a little pranams and what have you, as you go in, out of respect. I said, sure, fair enough. And having been in India, I'd seen all the sadhu babas and what have you, doing dandavats and what have you. So anyway, on entering the room, Prabhupada was sitting on the other side of the room with his back to the window behind a low desk on a cushion, as we came to know, that's how he would sit. And he was writing something, and he peered over at me. He had his glasses down his nose, and he said, Hare Krishna. And somehow I just felt so overwhelmed to be in his presence that I just automatically fell to the floor like a stick, as I'd seen devotees do in the temple just downstairs. And then I just simply lay there and froze, and I was thinking, well, what do I do now? When do I get up? And so a few moments passed, and then Kulushekhar kind of nudged me. He said, okay, you can get up now, yeah. So then, so I'd had all these preconceived questions I was going to ask, because at that time, you must understand that LSD was my god. I'd interviewed, prior to that, an associate of Timothy Leary, so I was very much into, glorifying the use of LSD for achieving self-realization. So when I sat there and I was facing Srila Prabhupada directly, I went blank. I was just, as I say, overwhelmed. I was speechless. Somehow or other, I'd just gotten a book called The Nectar of Devotion. And I remember reading in that how the pure devotee's eyes are anointed with the pulp of love, the salver of, and looking at Prabhupada's eyes, I could see this. And I could see he was like unlike anyone I'd ever seen in my life. And as I say, I was speechless. So after we had exchanged pleasantries, some moments passed, and then Prabhupada began talking, saying how unfortunate it was that the youth of today were trying to become self-realized through the use of hallucinogenic drugs. And I was just totally taken aback. I couldn't believe it, because this is exactly what I was going to challenge Prabhupada on. So I was just blown away at that point, and all my thoughts of writing a book went out the window. So then after that, kind of Prabhupada broke the ice a bit by talking and saying something that went straight, I could see that he could see actually what I was thinking. So then I plucked up some courage and I began to ask a question. And I think the first question I asked of Prabhupada was, what are the characteristics of a pure devotee? And Prabhupada expounded for about 20 minutes just on that question alone. And I can't remember too much more about the interview. I think I was with Prabhupada for about a full hour, and there was Kulushekhar was the only other devotee in the room at the time. But I remember Prabhupada's closing statement, and he looked at me straight in the eyes and he said, man is the architecture of his own fortune. So you make your fortune now. Whatever is done is done. Now start a new chapter in your life, and in the next life go back home, back to Godhead. And those words are still ringing in my ears to this day. Jai Anilo Prema